Alright folks, what up? So we got a 2015 Hyundai Accent. Customer complaint is that the tachometer is not working and the vehicle is cutting off. Yeah, you know how it is. It's early in the morning, right? So customer left the vehicle overnight. He said that the tach hasn't been working like it's supposed to. It's actually reading 0, right? And he's been experiencing some shutting off randomly while he's driving, right? And you notice that he's burning a lot of gas too, right? Yeah, this customer did mention this part of the cluster hasn't been working, right? While he's driving, if you start up, it's saying 0, okay? And, well, I mean, this one is when he's driving, right? So this one is on the transmission, and this one here is on the engine side. So we gotta ask ourselves, you know, why is it not working? He drove the vehicle down here. It shut down on him a few times, and I'm not sure exactly what's going on. So let's see what the scan tools say. Okay, so we got some fault codes on the airbag and the ECM. I'm just going to take a look at the airbag. It's probably the spiral or something like that that's open. Yes, it is. Right, so you definitely have a issue when it comes to the spiral. Okay, so let's back out. Let's go in the engine. And let's see the fault codes that it got here. Let's read. So we got a P2188 system too rich at idle, and we got a P0335 crank sensor position circuit, right? So anytime you see circuit, you know we going along the line of electrical, right, or performance. So what could we do next? Do we have any features on the scan tool that we can check to see if the crank sensor is working? No, we don't. What is this ISG stuff? It's not supported anyway. I know normally you have, like, on certain scan tools you can use the scan tool to like run through the crank and the cam sensor, but in this case I'm not seeing anything at all. Okay, so what I'm gonna do next, let's go into read some fault codes. Alright, so what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna read the data stream. I said fault codes, but it's data stream I was looking at. Okay, the vehicle is cold, right? So I'm going to look at the RPM, and I'm also going to look at anything to do with like my O2 sensor. Let's see, let's go down here. I mean, I can use the, let's use this. So let's look for RPM. Alright, target RPM. Okay, what else do we look for? Matter of fact, I'm going to use the search. Okay, so let's scroll through here and look for anything when it comes to the RPM and also the O2 sensor. Okay, do we have anything to do with adaptation, idle? I'm just going to look at that. The vehicle starts right up, so I'm not sure exactly why is it throwing that code. Just have some map sensor, not a MAV. So we could look at the O2 sensors. So we could take these off. Okay, so let's look at the O2 sensor, and let's take this off. Vehicle speed, no, we're not going anywhere. I just need to see what the RPM is. The engine speed. Like the actual engine speed. Alright, so we got the target RPM, we got the O2 sensor, you know, upstream, idle, stuff like that. So let's start the vehicle up and see if it start up and how it looks. Okay, so the vehicle starts right up. I definitely gotta wait till it gets warm. Alright, he did mention that this side is not working, so let's step on the X and see how it looks compared to what's happening on the scan tool. Okay, so it's moving. Alright, you definitely feel that rough idle. Yep, you definitely have a rough idle to it. So Okay, so let's go in the hood, do some checks, look around a little bit. This vehicle is running rough. It's making noise like, you know, like you got an issue or something like that. Like if you got misfire. So let's check on the misfire counters. It feels like you got a misfire. Let's take this off. It's running really rough. Okay, do we have misfire counts? Yes, we do. That's okay. So we don't have no misfires. So let's take a look and see what exactly is going on with this vehicle, why it's running rough. We got this vehicle right here. Yep, the vehicle is running really rough. And you see that they got the CNG still up there, okay? So you gotta ask yourself, let's take this vehicle off so we can have a conversation. Alright, so let me bring the scan tool as well. Let's see how the muffler sound. Yeah, it definitely sounds like it has a misfire, but it's not misfiring like that. So the O2 sensor is working. Alright, let's put this in graph mode. Okay, so our O2 sensor is working, but the vehicle says that it's running rich, and the flash a crank sensor fault. Yeah, so these vehicles is notorious for having dirty map sensors because of the way they're located, right? We also have the personal valve that tends to pull vapor from in the tank, right, and throw this code. What else? Timing if they're not changing the oil on time. So let's check to see what's going on with the oil. It's fairly clean, so I don't gotta worry about that. Is it the timing? I don't think it is. The vehicle starts up perfectly, it just runs rough. Okay, so let's attack this crank sensor. Right, I'm gonna scope it, see if it's breaking up, if it's breaking down, right, and see if I'm able to figure out why this vehicle is running the way it is. I got the blue channel hooked on to my cam sensor and the red channel hooked onto my crank sensor, right? So we're gonna start this vehicle up and see exactly, you know, if you could spot anything that's happening, if the signal is failing, it's dropping out, right? I'm gonna put some more time on the screen here. So when the vehicle is like acting up, let's see if you could spot anything. Could be just a performance issue, you know, with the crank sensor is just feeling, you know, due to time. That's there. But right now the signal is looking good. I'm not seeing any major dropouts or anything like that. I mean, you'll get that little spike here and there from the coils, right? As I said, that's why the condenser is so important, right, on the circuit. But so far, it looks like everything is good. Okay, let's take some time off and let's see if we've seen anything. That's a little too much. Okay, so I mean, it looks good. Doesn't look like anything is. So let's see what's going on with the O2 sensors reading. All right, let's look at the tach. Just now it would sound like it was, you know, losing power. Let's step on the X. So as the customer said, it is an intermittent problem where sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And I guess, you know, when we reach to the garage, that's when it tends to work. Okay, So I'm not seeing anything to, that to guide me, only the code, right? But I make sure I do all my checks, make sure I'm doing power, ground, everything like I'm supposed to, right? The vehicle did drive here, so what would be your call? Would you just throw a crank sensor at it? I mean, it's a part, it's gonna fail, right? So we can definitely, discuss that with the customer and ask them, what you like to do. What I'm seeing right here, everything is running like it's supposed to. So let's discuss it with the customer and figure out what he would like to do when it comes to this crank sensor fault that he's experiencing. Alright, so when I had the vehicle idling, the vehicle is shut right off, man. Okay, so let's go back on and see what's going on with this signal. Okay, so let's start it back up. I did not cut it off. It stopped on its own. And getting a hard start. Okay, it's running rich. And you see that the crank sensor basically lost communication. Alright, so that basically confirms what the customer is experiencing, right? He said the vehicle, that shut off on its own. You saw that the crank sensor came back online. The vehicle is running, but while I was, setting my things up, ready to call quits, the vehicle has shut off on its own. And you're hearing the idle that's racing. Okay, so let's monitor this. He's gonna put some more time on the screen. Okay, we're gonna put some more time on the screen so we can. I don't need a high sample rate, but I'm trying to get it to feel again. Ever so often you'll see these little glitches, Right now the RPM is too low, and you see the AC sensor has activity. So let's open this up a little bit. And you just heard the vehicle is shut off, right? So let me see if I can step on the gas pedal and see if what happens. Let's look at the tach too. Customer did mention that the tach doesn't move, right? Right, there you go. So you see the tach not moving. Okay. So that's the customer complaint. The tach is not moving. Right? The vehicle is running. And I just lost the crank sensor while the vehicle was running. So is it enough to, throw a crank sensor at it? I believe it is now. This definitely confirmed what the customer was experiencing. And earlier this week, I had a customer came in with a Kia Sportage, and this is her crank sensor was doing the same thing. She was getting a hard start, and also she was losing power, right? So I replaced this crank sensor, and he said all is well right now, right? But you gotta feel crank sensor. So like when it gets hot, that's when it's feeling. Hers was when it gets cold, it was feeling. You hear the RPM, elevated right now. See that I'm getting my crank and cam. The red is the crank and the blue is the cam. And you just see it cut off. So let me see if I can get it to do the same thing again. So we hear the RPM elevated, and you see that we gain no tach right here. I'm stepping on the gas. In fact, let's look on the scan tool and see if we can read the RPM. So we read the RPM, are we? Yes, it is. So probably what happens is the ECU will pull out default RPM.
1 hour later.
Alright, so I was able to get my hands on the crank sensor and the cam sensor. I'm going to change it out in a set because, I mean, if the crank sensor fail, most likely the cam sensor is right behind it, right? So this is the part number for the cam sensor. Let me see if I can get you close up. Okay, I don't know if I got it. Let's see. It's kind of hard to zoom. You know, let's be. Okay, that's a cam sensor. So let's open it up. It's the original cam sensor. All right. See, the package was already open, so we're going to change this one out. Also, I'm going to change the crank sensor as well, right? And this is the part number right here, right? So I always change it out in a set because, I mean, the crank and the cam went in at the same time. So you don't want to change out the crank sensor and not knowing that the cam sensor also going to fail right behind it. So let's change out the cam since we're on top, right? And I don't think I ought to tape it or something like that, but it's kind of hard to get access to these sensors because of where they're located. So let me just take some of these things out so I could get my hands free. Okay, so let's see if we could get this out. Okay, so you see why I like to change, you know, the cam and the crank at the same time. Look at how much stuff is on this. So if it's like this, it's definitely going to fail eventually because it can't read. This is from lack of maintenance on the engine oil that's causing it to cake up like this. So we definitely made the right call by changing out the sensor. Okay, so we're gonna just reinstall this cam sensor. Right, as I said, man, just take in front. Right, although the cam sensor did not throw a code, I always change these out in a set, man. I hate comebacks, as everyone knows, because you will really hate it if a client call you as soon as you drive over from your garage and say, hey, my check light is on. When you scan the vehicle, you see that it's cam sensor, and he was already there. So it's gonna kind of be embarrassing if that's the case. So it happened to me once. So since that, I said to myself, it's not gonna happen again. And also, one of my mentors, he, pulled me up one time because he said when you're changing the cam, you change the crank, full stop, right? I didn't believe him, but it happened to me. So since that time, I changed out the cam with the crank. So let's go and do the crank. Let me see if I can get you in here. It's kind of hard. All right, just pop the light right there. So you see the sensor, the crank sensor. Okay, so let's see what condition it's in. It's in a kind of tight space. Right, so you see all that crap on it, right? So that's one reason why I always recommend to change both of them, crank and cam. Okay, so let's put that new one in. Okay, we're going to trace back the wire. All right, good. Put that one in. It's kind of hard to do this with the camera, so I'm going to put the camera down and we're just going to button everything up. All right, so this is the old crank sensor that I pulled out from this vehicle. So let's go in the vehicle. Excuse me, sir. And let's see exactly what's going on. So if you can remember or recall, all right, let's see if we can get some light in here. Okay, so with the key on, engine off, right? If you can recall, we was getting no movement on the tach, none at all, right? Regardless of what I tried, nothing. Okay, so that's what led me to the crank sensor. And yeah, so let's see what's going on. Plus I was getting the hard start, shutting off, and all that good stuff. So let's start up. So you see, start right up. Okay, so let's step on the X.
Okay, let me show you how I'm going to deal with that P2188 Richard idle code, right? So on this vehicle is notoriously known for that push solenoid to stay open or be stuck open and causing vapors to come through there and causing this code, right? So let me show you how I'm going to deal with it.
Okay, so I'm going to replace this purge control valve, right? It is kind of in a tough position. I may have to remove this bracket. I'm not sure. Let's see if we can get it out without removing that bracket. Kind of hard. Yeah, I got the jack off, right? Yes, you can do some testing, it's up to you, but I'm not going to test because this vehicle is known for having issues where it's pulling vapors from inside from the tank and causing that rich cold, right? Rich and lean, you know. So let's swap it out, right? And the customer has been complaining that the vehicle, you know, at first startup, she's been smelling fumes, you know. So I'm going to take front and get rid of this right here first, because I believe they changed some parts prior to this trying to get rid of that problem, and you know, was not able to. So let's see if we could get this out. Okay, so this is the old one and this is the new one, right? So it's identical. So we just gotta put it back in this little hole right here. So you got a slot, push it back in like this until it snaps in. You gotta make sure it's lined up. All right, try not to break it. Just take your time. All right, so it's in. Okay, and you gotta push it down some more till it butts off right here. Try not to break the, what you call it, the little nozzle, because then you gotta go and purchase another one. We got the hose back on, we got the bracket back on, so let's slide it back in to where it was, and yep, here's all in the day's work. You know, the smallest part, you gotta remove like 1,000 things just to get access to it. Yep, that's all in it, man. So while you pushing it down, make sure it's in the hose, the clamp, I mean. You just gotta guide it. Okay, so it's in. Gotta make sure it goes back on those bolts, and I gotta make sure it's back on the throttle. So let me get the scan tool and let's remove the codes that's on this vehicle, and you know, send the customer on his way. Okay, so let's go on to the diagnostics using the auto. I'm gonna go into, what did I use last time? Favorites. Okay, let's do an auto scan and auto VIN and see what's going on. Kind of bright, so I'm gonna load this down so you can see exactly what I'm seeing. We got the P2188 and the P0335, right? So that's letting me know that the system was too rich at idle, and we got the crank sensor, position sensor, right? Well, let's come out of here. Let's go straight back out. I don't want to go in OBD right now, so we're gonna go into auto VIN, auto detect. Okay, and let's see. So that's the VIN, right? Hyundai. This is it's an Accent, right? 2015. Okay, press OK. All right, so let's press OK. All right, so we're gonna do auto scan again. Let's do fold. So let's, you know, the scan tool runs right through everything quick, right? So we got a fault on the airbag, which the customer did highlight to me, but I told him that let me get my hands on the part that he needs, right, to get that off, right? So we got a driver airbag resistance too high first stage, so we gotta get that out. I just didn't have the part in stock, right? We got a P0335 crank sensor position circuit history, and we got a P2188, right? So I replaced the crank and the cam, and I also replaced the purge solenoid valve, right? So they're supposed to handle all that good stuff, right? So let's do a quick erase. Let's get rid of all that code. The vehicle is sounding much better. Before it was stumbling and bumbling and it shut off, right? It sounded like it had a misfire and all too. And you also were smelling the exhaust fumes, right? Going engine. Let's see if we have any relearns to do. We gotta go into special function, right? So we're gonna reset the adaptive values, right? So let's press this. So we gotta switch the engine, ignition on, engine off. Let's press reset. All right, are you sure? Yes. So what I did here is just clear all that information that was, stored on the brain, right? So the vehicle is supposed to run, smoothly. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I could do a evap thing, but I'm going to go start the vehicle again. Starts right up this time. And I'm going to go to the O2 sensor. I'm going to take a look at what's going on with the oxygen sensor, bank 1. All right. I'm just double checking, making sure that what I did was correct. All right, let's come out of this cruise. I don't need to see that. All right, my map is at 36 PA kilopascal, which is good. Idle. All right, that's letting me know that all is well. If I step on the X, I'm expecting to see this go up all the way up to, let's say, 99 to 101. So let's step on the X. 1001. So you saw it went to 999, which is, that's an HPA. Remember, we're in HPA. So I'm talking about KPA. You'll see 99 KPA. So let's go to oxygen sensor. All right, so let's check out these right here. Okay, let's graph them. All right. So you see them, my oxygen sensor is running rich, lean, like it's supposed to. If I snap on the throttle, I'm gonna see it go, lean, then rich, and then let's see, because I'm idling right now. Right, so it went. Let's pause this. So it went lean, then it went rich, went back lean to take away some of that fuel, and then it went back rich, and it's just gonna continue oscillating back between 0.1 to 0.8, which is good. Yeah, previously the customer cleaned the throttle, replaced plugs and all that good stuff, clean injectors, and he still was getting this code that's keep popping up, right? So that is when I made the suggestion that we change out that pull solenoid, and I believe everything is fixed, right? So until next time, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, share, comment, all that good stuff. Until next time, y'all take it easy.